8 real space deaths, disasters. 1. Apollo 1, Launch Pad Fire, Florida, 1967. Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were strapped into the Apollo 1 capsule for a routine launch rehearsal, still bolted to the pad. The cabin was pressurized with pure oxygen, standard procedure at the time. A single spark from damaged wiring ignited instantly. In a pure oxygen environment, fire doesn't flicker, it explodes. The fire spread through the cabin almost instantly. The hatch was designed to open inward and required multiple steps to unlock. By the time the ground crew got it open, all 3 men were dead. It took weeks before crews could even begin picking up the pieces. NASA grounded the program for 21 months, redesigning the hatch and cabin atmosphere entirely. 2. Soyuz 1, Parachute Failure, USSR, 1967. Cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov knew something was wrong before he even launched. Engineers had reportedly flagged over 200 technical problems with the Soyuz 1 capsule, but political pressure pushed the mission forward anyway. Once in orbit, systems began failing one after another. Komarov fought to keep control during re-entry, but when the parachute failed to deploy correctly, the capsule slammed into the ground at nearly full speed. He died instantly on impact. It remains one of the most haunting stories in spaceflight history, a mission many believed was doomed before it ever left the launch pad, flown anyway, by a man who reportedly understood the risk. 3. Soyuz 11, Cabin Depressurization, 1971. Georgy Dobrovolsky, Vladislav Volkov, and Viktor Patsayev had just finished a record-breaking 3 weeks aboard space station Salyut 1. As their capsule undocked to head home, a valve hidden beneath their seats burst open during separation from the service module. At over 100 miles up, the cabin began leaking air into the vacuum of space. Because the valve was hidden below their seats, there was no way for the crew to find or fix it in time. All 3 men lost consciousness and died before the capsule reached Earth. Ground control had no idea anything was wrong until recovery teams opened the hatch and found all 3 crew members had not survived the depressurization. 4. Space Shuttle Challenger, Mid-Air Explosion, 1986. 7 astronauts, including schoolteacher Krista McAuliffe, lifted off on a cold Florida morning in January. Engineers had warned that the freezing 26 degrees Fahrenheit weather could compromise the rubber O-ring seals on the rocket boosters. The warnings were overruled. Just over a minute after liftoff, a seal failure let flame escape and destabilize the booster, causing the shuttle to break apart while moving faster than sound. The explosion happened on live television, watched by school children across the country, who'd tuned in specifically to see McAuliffe become the first teacher in space. All 7 crew members were lost. It remains one of the most visually devastating disasters in American history. D5, Space Shuttle Columbia, Re-entry Breakup, 2003. During liftoff, a piece of foam insulation broke off the fuel tank and struck Columbia's left wing, punching a hole engineers couldn't properly assess from grainy launch footage. NASA officials, having seen foam strikes before with no major damage, decided not to investigate further. It was a fatal miscalculation. During re-entry, superheated gas poured through the hole in the wing, causing it to break apart and the rest of the shuttle to disintegrate 7 minutes before landing. All 7 crew members, including the first Israeli astronaut in space, were killed instantly as the shuttle tore apart at 18 times the speed of sound, scattering wreckage across multiple states. 6. Valentin Bondarenko, Training Chamber Fire, USSR, 1961. Before Yuri Gagarin even became the first man in space, a young cosmonaut named Valentin Bondarenko was training in a low-pressure altitude chamber, filled with pure oxygen, the same dangerous setup that would later kill the Apollo 1 crew. During an isolation exercise, he wiped his skin with an alcohol-soaked cotton swab and tossed it aside, not realizing it landed on a hot plate. In the oxygen-rich chamber, the small spark instantly became an inferno. By the time the chamber could be depressurized and opened, Bondarenko had suffered burns over most of his body. He died in the hospital hours later. His death was kept secret by the Soviet government for decades. 7. Vladimir Komarov's final words, Soyuz 1, Expanded Human Angle. What makes Komarov's death especially chilling isn't just the failure, it's what allegedly happened in his final hour. Some historical accounts claim Komarov knew the capsule was failing, and that ground control could hear him on the radio as he descended, fully aware there was no way to fix the parachute system in time. Whether or not every detail of those final transmissions is verified, what's certain is this. Engineers had reportedly raised dozens of safety concerns before launch, and the mission proceeded regardless. Komarov became the first human being to die during an actual spaceflight, a grim first in the history of human space exploration. 8. Michael J. Adams, X-15 rocket plane disintegration, 1967. Air Force test pilot Michael Adams was flying the X-15 rocket plane on his 7th mission, pushing toward the edge of space itself. At an altitude of 266,000 feet, the plane developed an electrical problem, followed by control issues, and Adams may have become disoriented at the peak of the flight. During re-entry, the X-15 yawed out of control, spun at Mach 5, and the excessive forces tore the aircraft apart at 65,000 feet. Adams never had a chance to recover. Because his flight had technically crossed the U.S. boundary of space, he was posthumously awarded astronaut wings, becoming one of the lesser-known names on the long list of people who died chasing the stars.